Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. And this is not just another episode. You probably saw the title, This Almost Killed Me, my deepest podcast to date. Man, oh man, welcome back. So much record-setting feedback from last week talking about to shock you and the beginning of this Reinvention series and rebranding. And I just want to say thank you for the incredible support and feedback from last week's episode 301. Thank you. Unbelievable. I really struggled as I shared. Should I share all of this? Because I'm going to overwhelm them, my listener, you. And so many questions, so many people opened their hearts. So I want to say thank you. If you're hurting, if you are broken, or you just need a reset, mission accomplished on my end to challenge you and remind you of the power that's in each and every one of us. Sometimes you feel like you're on the brink of collapsing, of overwhelm and emptiness and being lost and burnout. And I'm here to tell you to keep on going. And I'm going to go deeper and deeper on that today. Many of us are seeking even deeper passion, even a deeper purpose, and we scratch and claw and climbing out of this abyss, right? So thank you for keep on going. And thank you for all the words on the announcement about preaching and speaking at Shadow Mountain Church on Father's Day. What is that, June the 18th? When Dr. Jeremiah asked me, I knew that was God's way of challenging me to see if I would step up into another level of discomfort, the discomfort zone, and do that. So if you have not yet listened to episode 301, make sure you go back and listen. I'm really excited for the chance to speak in front of all of the folks at Shadow Mountain Church in El Cajon, California, as well as his Turning Point Ministries, which is streamed worldwide. So wherever you live around the world, you can tune in on Father's Day, June 18th. And Pastor TD will be showing up and giving the message. And I can't thank Pastor Jeremiah enough for believing in me, but I know that was God, his way of really challenging me. So I'm really excited to talk about, well, what almost killed me. I'm excited because why? I'm still here. I didn't die. And that's good news, right? So this all started because we're about to do this rebrand of our Todd Durkin Enterprises website. When you go to todddurkin.com, we've been working on this for, it seems like 6 months plus now. And I'm going to talk in depth about the soul behind it over the next few weeks. But remember, one of the reasons why I decided to share all that I'm sharing last week, this week, and next week is it'd be really easy for me to show up and say, hey guys, we got this new website and all this great stuff, and we're rebranding it, logos and all this great stuff that we're doing. But if you didn't know why, you'd have no idea the meaning behind it and the last 3 years and all that's happened. And, when you look at the new site and logos and say, man, Todd and his team just keep building and building and building. Yeah, we do and we have, but there's a reason why. And it's easy for me to even reflect when I do my God-sized dreams planner. I reflect on all that we've created, and every year I've done that for over a decade. And when I look at even the last few years, we survived. And okay, on the outside, on the outer facing lens of the world, the external, 2 books written and the 2 God-sized dreams planners and a journal and a God-sized dreams coaching program, a God-sized dreams life coaching certification program, live events for the mastermind, the shift retreat, which was last year. But man, oh man, would I be remiss if I just went into the rebrand and you're like, oh man, just a machine keeps on going, because that's the furthest thing from the truth, is just a machine keeps on going. And I hope that someone today who's walking, jogging, running, on a plane, on a train, in the car, listening with their kids, is tapping in and saying, man, I just didn't know, TD. I just didn't know. Why? Because I want to hopefully remind you and inspire you to keep on going and what it's going to take. And there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to uncover with all of this. And it really, when I think back 3+ years, those were the past 3 years. When I say the past 3 years, I'm talking 2020, 2021, and 2. Because I feel like, in this post-pandemic world that we live, those 3 years were absolute bears, behemoth bears that just about broke me and a lot of other people. Can I get an amen, anyone? Did it break about anyone else, or was I the only one? Anyone? Let me hear you say yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, physically, mentally, emotionally, fortunately, spiritually, was able to double down on that. But I know we, because you're listening, did not break, and we still have life, and that's what fires me up. So I'm going to dive in here to what almost killed me, and I want to share from the heart. It actually started before 2020. If we go back in time a bit, y'all remember the show I was on called Strong, NBC Strong? It was in 2016 and 2017. It was on NBC primetime, Thursday night, 8 o'clock. And we had 10 trainers with 10 contestants competing for $500,000. And that was filmed in 2015 and 2016. And after it's run on live TV, or actually on TV, it wasn't live, it was filmed, recorded. It actually went on Netflix for several years. And frankly, I did that back in the day because I was 44 years old and I needed a new challenge. Deep down, I was bored. I needed to challenge myself with something bigger than anything I had already done up to that point. I mean, I can still consider myself an athlete, but I've been missing that. I did it. It was one of the best times in my life. And if you don't know the results, you can go back and see all that. But it was an amazing run of 10 weeks. And I came back and got it. Devin was my first partner. And then Brittany came in on the comeback challenge. We won. I got all the way to the finals. We lost and we didn't make any money, but it was never about the money, right? But it was never about the result. It was really stepping into a challenge and a role that I loved, of physically and mentally being challenged again to operate at my highest level. I love getting exposed on TV and a lot of new people and experiences. It opened up a lot of new doors and avenues and opportunities, including even speaking. And at the gym here at Fitness Quest 10, I knew my role and I loved it. But during this time in 2017, 2018, and 2019, I was being pulled more and more away from it. And I love my Fitness Quest 10 community, my team and my people. But I was being pulled away. And I was being pulled away, not in a bad way, but I was being called to do something greater, meaning not just in San Diego and not just in Scripps Ranch here in San Diego, but I was getting called by God to go on this mission, this crusade. And I was thinking here in 2017, 2018, 2019 of, man, how can I do this? Because 80% of the time I'm at FQ10 and 20% is on the TDE side, but I'm being pulled to do more on the speaking and the coaching through TDE. I love that. My soul's being fed even more. I'm pretty much on cruise control and autopilot at FQ10. And while I could continue doing this for the next decade of my life, or so I thought, I know that I'm not stepping into the best version of me. Can anyone relate to this where you're thinking, man, like you're on cruise control, you know what kind of money you're making, and it's good money. The impact is phenomenal, but you know there's another level. And more importantly, you know that God's calling you to do something greater. Well, in 2018, I had my first major surgery ever. I had a partial knee replacement on my right knee. And along with that, they actually took out 9 degrees of my severe bow-leggedness. If you ever met me in person, well, I used to be very bow-legged, my right leg and my left knee. I look like I just got off a horse. Well, we took out 9 degrees of my bow-leggedness so we could align the ankle, knee, and hip. Makes sense. Got that right, all lined up. The knee's doing awesome. And man, oh man. But for the first time, I started thinking to myself in 2017, 2018 is, what would it look like if I changed my relationship with Fitness Quest 10? And maybe I'd bring in a business partner or somehow be able to step away from the day-to-day operations and really start to proliferate my impact message globally. And that's when we started the podcast. And here we are, episode 302, 302 episodes later. starting the podcast, but my mind was already starting to go there. I was already being called deep down, and God was planting these seeds. I didn't know how to do that. And by the time 2019 hit, I was burnt out. I was burnt out from trying to do everything for everyone all the time. And while I loved what I was doing at Fitness Quest 10 and everything, I knew that I needed to change some things up, but I didn't know how. I had great mentors. I just didn't know how to change that relationship to find that real rhythm that I wanted. And here's what my mind was going. And maybe you're there now, maybe you've been there, or maybe you will be there. And here's my mind. Maybe I should take a sabbatical. Maybe I should take a month off, or man, what would it be like to take 6 months sabbatical and just go figure things out? My wife had done that as a professor in college, or maybe a year off where I can really go deep and think about what's the next decade of my life going to look like. Maybe I should sell Fitness Quest 10. Maybe I should become a full-time speaker, but remain at Fitness Quest 10 and be that forefather because I love it so much. It's part of my DNA. It's part of my soul. Heck, maybe I should just go on a completely different mission and challenge. And maybe I should become a full-time strength and conditioning coach in the NFL or even high-level college football and see if I could build a champion. After all, what I realized is I love building things. And Fitness Quest 10 was on cruise control, and it didn't really need to be built anymore. It was already built out. I only wanted one at the time, and it was cruising along. And I love to create. I love to build. I started this thing from scratch, and I wanted to take it to become the best gym in the world. And humbly stating, it's done pretty well. It's done pretty darn good over 23 years. So 2019, I'm burnt out, but I keep going. And then 2020 hit. What happened in 2020? Anyone remember 2020? Because I kind of blocked 2020 out. Yeah, that's right. I heard a few of you say, yep, the pandemic. March 17th, 2020, to be specific, was the day of infamy. Now, let me remind you, I went into the pandemic already burnt out. And I went into it doing soul searching about what my next steps were. And it's crazy when I look back because it was in many ways like going to war. Now, I've never been in battle, never served in the military. Thank you to all of our military who are listening in. But 9+ months of extreme battle. Fitness Quest 10 and gyms across the land were closed down. All of the sanctions and things that we couldn't do. And internally, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I listening? I feel like a sheep just following the herd of, here I am getting these emails from clients of, you better not open up. And I wanted to open up because I know health and fitness is the way to build immunity. And I don't open up. Bring the equipment outside and haul it when it's 100 degrees outside because we can now open up outside. And all of this craziness and confusion, and well, 2 to 3 years of it, to be specific, not just 9 months, trying to save my gym, Fitness Quest 10. And thank God we have such amazing clients and members, right? So many people rallied around us, and I'll forever be indebted for the people that just said, hey, whatever it takes, we're going to keep paying our memberships, and, we're going to do what we need to do. We're going to get through this. And the amazing teammates who were all in during this time. But here I am trying to save the gym, trying to save everyone's job, because on March 17th, when I told our team we're going to need to take a 2-week hiatus and try to figure things out, we'll be meeting virtually, there was a lot of confusion. Now, for the past 15+ years, I've also led a mastermind group. Now, these mastermind groups, you've probably heard me talk about the Todd Durkin mastermind group. 80% of these folks are people who own gyms, brick and mortar gyms across the land. And not only was I trying to save my gym, I now was trying to save over 150 gyms of my own people, saying, hey, get on my back. We got this. We're going to get through this. And I felt a great responsibility. Those of you who remember the Good News Network, who remembers the Good News Network? When we closed the gym down, I was like, I'm going live every day until our gym opens back up, because we were told it would be 2 weeks. I'm like, I can go live for 2 weeks, 14 days. What's that? Boy, were we lied to, or just didn't know all that was going on, right? So what ended up being 91 straight days of lives, not Monday through Friday. Hey, if I say it, I'm going to do it. 91 straight days, Monday through Sunday, 12 noon West Coast, 3 o'clock East Coast. Y'all remember those days? Well, truth be told, there were days where I was on the couch, flat out exhausted at 11:59 a.m. thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to say, what I'm going to remind our people, because I can't get myself off my own couch because I'm lying here face planted, exhausted, burnt out. But I always found a way to somehow know that there was going to be at least one. A lot of times dozens and sometimes even hundreds of people showing up to get just a little glimpse of motivation or inspiration. And in knowing that it was 91 days, all of the uncertainty and financial strain of what was going to happen. And in my mind, think back, although it brings back sometimes this almost going back and like, man, I don't know if I want to go there. The scarcity mindset that would set in. Is brick and mortar dead? I'd hear. The economy's going to a massive recession. The rise of Peloton and all the things that there's no longer going to be gyms. And here I am prophesizing that the best is yet to come and the gyms will revive. But everything's tanking, right? So thinking April, May, June. And then y'all remember during this time, all this was going on and all of a sudden, there was the George Floyd incident, May 25th, 2020, George Floyd. And what a tragedy that was. Man, to think about and seeing the divisiveness. I remember sitting in my home office and crying, thinking about just the racial tension and the divisiveness and thinking, God, please, if there's ever a time, we must lean in. And just to watch over the next few weeks of all that was to unfold. And fast forward a few weeks, June 2nd, 2020. June 2nd, 2020. Guys, this was the launch of my marquee book, Get Your Mind Right. Get Your Mind Right. And while I wanted it to come out in January of 2020, the good Lord said, no, it's not going to come out January. And my publisher, Baker Books, was like, hey, it's going to come out June 2nd, 2020, not knowing it was going to be a pandemic. And well, Get Your Mind Right came out on June 2nd, 2020. And if there was ever a time that the world needed to get their minds right, it was in May, June, and July of 2020. This was a really, really tough time. So when I woke up on June 2nd, 2020, after, well, it was almost 1.5 to 2 years of writing that book and getting ready for the launch, because it was written a year in advance of Get Your Mind Right, I woke up to a message from my team saying, we can't post today. Mike, what are you talking about? Can't post. It's Get Your Mind Right Day. It's International Get Your Mind Right Day. We've already declared this. They said, no, we can't post today. It's Blackout Tuesday. Like, what's Blackout Tuesday? What's that? Like, well, you got to post this black square in your social media feed. I'm like, well, what's this? I've never heard of this. Like, it's Black Lives Matter. I'm like, well, of course Black Lives Matter. Of course, everyone matters. Black lives, white lives, every other life matters. You talk about, for me, my own confusion of praying of God. I don't look if it's white or it's black or it's Asian. Every life matters, but who ordained this random day of June 2nd, International Get Your Mind Right Day? And we posted. I posted. I said, no, I'm sorry, team. We're posting. God's telling me to post. And I don't care if it's black, white, Asian, whatever. I love every person. Every soul matters. I just think back on the confusion, the frustration of everybody. All races, all creeds, religions. It was like, what's going on? And who's calling all these shots? Why are we listening to all the people and the pundits? Why not lean in? Well, there was a lot of confusion. And even looking back now, I'm glad that I leaned in to my, not intuition, but my prayers, and listening to God to say, you know what, God, what do you want me to do? And whether it be right or whether it be wrong, I needed to listen. and I needed to do what I believed was right. Because to this day, I don't care what color or race or religion you are. I love you. I love you. But that was also marred with death threats. And for the first time in my life, I had death threats. When I did my Get Your Mind Right book signing, I had an undercover police officer packing heat at my own Get Your Mind Right book signing because of a death threat that someone was going to pop a cap in me. You ever had that? The all of a sudden the love and the fear. You're walking around looking over your back and looking at this stuff, and I'm thinking, man, like burnout, confused, frustrated. And it was at that time I started having some deep conversations with some of the people on my own team, including my man Jeff Bristol, about stepping up his role and becoming his chief mentor at Fitness Quest 10, and maybe even becoming a partner with me in Fitness Quest 10, because I knew if there was ever a time to reset and recalibrate, that now was to have that discussion. Well, my friends, it didn't get much better, because by September 2020, my body was completely shot. My mind was completely exhausted, and I was fighting to survive. I was showing up, and I was on social media. I would show up to events if there were any, but there weren't many. Serving and sharing is actually what kept me alive. Your comments kept me alive. But my body was getting worse. My body was keeping score. And by the late fall, my doctor told me that my other knee, my left knee, was now bone on bone. And the pain that was keeping me up at night, not just from the fear and the scarcity mindset and the exhaustion, the same things I preach against were now killing me. The mind right maniac were killing me. And my left knee now needed to be replaced. I had just turned 50 years old, and you're telling me my right knee was replaced with 48, my left knee at 50? What's going on? Well, how can I have two knee replacements at age 50? What happened? And on December 2nd, 2020, in the middle of COVID, I had major knee surgery. My body was completely wrecked, and my mind was shot. Interesting when you think about pain and all that it brings on. Isn't it funny how you think about, I would not have slowed down during this time. I was exhausted. I was in pain. I wasn't in the best place like most people, but it forced me to slow down and stop. It was almost like I had prayed that I needed something to happen. Have you ever been so sick that you actually wished that something would happen to you? Now, this is real talk. This is like some preaching going on now, where you actually wished that you would happen, not die, but something would happen to force you to slow down. Why is it that the human mind actually wishes that versus saying, I'm going to take a sabbatical, I'm going to take a rest, I'm going to slow down and stop? Well, for me, quietly, and I'd never said this before outside of Melanie, this was God's way, I believe, of forcing me to slow down before something really, really bad happened. And whether that was going to be a breakdown or whether that was going to be an all-out panic attack, whatever that was, fortunately, it was just another knee surgery. And 3 weeks after that, after 6 months of back and forth with my man, Jeff Bristol, he became a partner with me at Fitness Quest 10. And while it was a complex staggering of ownership, staggering over a time, it would ultimately be where Jeff would become the majority owner of Fitness Quest 10. Now, Fitness Quest 10 is my heart and soul. I founded this bad boy 23 years ago, but I knew as to what God was calling me to do, that it was going to require even more leadership than what I was doing. Why? Because I realized that a lot of my time and energy was going into the people of Fitness Quest 10, and it needed some leadership so I could go out and hit stages eventually and speak and coach around the world. And Jeff Bristol, he showed me his true colors of he was the guy I wanted to be within the trenches. The whole time I wanted to be in the trenches with him, and he wanted to be next to me so I could mentor him in this ascension over several years to really say, hey, this is what's going to take. And I still wanted to train, still do today. I still do, but I wanted to change the world. I wanted to change the world. And all along, I was burnt out, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And 2020 came to an end. Here were the top lessons from 2020 when I think about those lessons. Sometimes, this is before 2020, but it goes back to strong. Number one, sometimes you need a really good physical challenge to reignite your soul. That's what strong did to me. Strong reignited my soul. And it was like the best time of my life when it came to going to a place that I needed to go to because success got a little boring. Does that make any sense? It got boring. All of a sudden, what LaDainian Thompson told me in 2006 after winning the MVP of what's next? I couldn't answer that myself. For me, what's next? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, all these good things. And strong allowed me to challenge myself to another level. So what does that mean for you? Maybe it's time to really think about where you're at in your life. Maybe you need to sign up for an event that scares you. I'm not saying you have to go on national television. That was 10 years in the making as it was. But maybe you need to recommit to your own program, or a program that's going to take you 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. Maybe it's a coaching program. Maybe it's a physical program. Hopefully it's both. A coaching program that involves the physicality that will allow you to tap into your soul at the deepest level. Number two, the second thing, the lesson from 2020 is sometimes life is so extremely complex and confusing and even overwhelming. You know, how can you slow things down? When I think back on that time, in many ways, I have blocked it out, and thank God, through talking about it and having even professional help of like going through and talking through this, slowing things down enough where, you know, the great ones slow it down, the good ones speed it up, the good ones speed it up, the great ones slow it down. How can you slow life down? Even today, with all that's going on, how can we slow it down? And whether that be through sheer overwhelm and confusion or complexity because life has become so complex, how can we slow it down? It's my coaching for you. Number three, got 5 here. Sometimes a surgery or a major injury serves as a required pause or a reset. But my plea to you is don't wait until that happens. Guys, I've now had 3 knee surgeries in that time. And you don't want to be where I was and using, I'll say, the excuse of, oh, it's going to allow me to take 6 weeks off. How about just saying and committing, I'm going to take 6 weeks off of a sabbatical because you've been doing what you've been doing for 10 years or 20 years or 23 years or 40 years, whatever it is. How about integrating that into your schedule now before it's too late? Use me as a crash test dummy of here I am proliferating that. Now, does it make sense to you why I'm sharing this? Because if I just did this rebrand and this reigniting of inspiration without sharing all of this, it wouldn't make as much sense. Because now what I've called wisdom of learning the hard way over the last 3 to 5 years, especially here in 2020, the hardest year of my life. And number 4, if and when you're burnt out, take time out. If you're burnt out, take time out. Again, let me remind you, I don't know if it's 2 weeks, I don't know if it's 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, but you got to dial it in. Dial it in with a doctor, an allopathic doctor. Dial it in with a naturopathic doctor. Take a look at everything, your blood work, your hormones. Because when I started working with a naturopathic doctor, along with an allopathic doctor, man, oh man, was I out of whack. I'm talking the stress 7 days a week, not sleeping, all of the stress through my numbers between the cortisol, lack of testosterone, everything was pure like, we can do this, we got this, we can do it. And along with that, if you're burnt out, just as a reminder, take time out before you make massively big decisions. You don't want to make big decisions in your business, your life, or your relationships when you're completely exhausted or burnt out. I'm very thankful that I have a business partner in Jeff Bristol who came in just at the right time, because frankly, I might be dead right now if not. And I am grateful for Jeff to be in the trenches with him now, as always, forever and ever. Fitness Quest 10's my baby. In a lot of ways now, I look at it as like my grandbaby, right? Jeff's running that bad boy. We got a great leadership team. We have a great team of coaches and trainers and therapists. And when I'm here, man, my soul is singing. But when God started speaking to me in 17, 18, 19 of, you, Todd, hey, I'm going to call you to go outside your comfort zone a little bit. And I'm going to call you to let go of some of the things that you've been doing for the last 25 years. And I'm going to call you to do something greater. I'm not going to tell you how long it's going to take. But do you trust me? Do you trust me? And that's why I'm sharing with you. Because point number 5, my last lesson here I'm going to share, and I've got lessons galore. That'll be in a book someday, is trust in God. Trust in God. Chapter 9 of Get Your Mind Right. Many of you have probably read my book, Get Your Mind Right. Came out June 2nd, 2020. I just shared the story. Tap into the whispers. Is when you look at the whispers and all that's there, I think about the whispers and what the whispers were saying then and what they're saying now. And as hard as the last several years, 2020, 2021, and 2022 were, the one thing I am grateful for is that my relationship with Jesus, my relationship with God has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. Why? Because of pain. I said on last week's episode that sometimes pain precedes purpose. I've always known my purpose is to help people and serve people. It's gotten deeper and deeper over my 25-year career as a coach and as a trainer, as a speaker, as an author, as a life transformer. But I know this, if you experience anything, or you are experiencing anything that I've been through in the last few years, specifically in 2020, I want you to tap into the whispers. I want you to tap in and really listen. And I want you to really start to journal those things down and say, man, this is what it's going to take for me to be the best version of me. Because at the end of the day, what is most important? What is that purpose? For me, when I'm side straddle hopping through the pearly gates and I see my man, he's like, well done, good and faithful servant. You're obedient. You didn't understand then, but now you understand why now. So my coaching for you is this. There's always going to be angels that appear around you when you can tap into gratitude. So tap into gratitude. I asked you last week to journal. Thank you if you're journaling. Thank you for journaling. Thank you for journaling. But I also want to make sure that you don't beat yourself up. If you're going through a 2020 year that I had in 2020, maybe right now in this season of your life, I want you to give yourself some grace, because I didn't give myself enough grace. Because yes, we were producing products and I was putting a lot out, but there was a lot of internal confusion and strife and challenge and overwhelm and burnout and exhaustion and emptiness, all of these things in a year. And guess what? I thought and I hoped that it was over. And as I headed into 2021, my plea was that it was going to be a better year because the pandemic is nearly over. But lo and behold, 6 weeks after that knee surgery, which was in December of 2020, December 2nd, 2020, 6 weeks after my knee surgery, in the midst of my rehab, all of a sudden, the beginning of 2021, my back started killing me, like absolutely killing me. Pulverizing pain that brought me to my knees like I hadn't felt in 25 years. My back. Here we go. And just like that, my back broke, like literally broke. On February 17th, 2021, my 20th wedding anniversary, I went and finally got an x-ray on my back. And this is what the doctor said. All right, I got you on that one, didn't I? And then my back broke. That's right. That's going to be coming up next week. How's that for a cliffhanger? Coming up next week, and then my back broke. Yep. I want to be respectful of your time and your energy. That's enough of the story of 2020 at a macro level to share with you of what a difficult time 2020 was, but it got worse. It really got worse because all of that compounded on my back breaking. You're going to hear next week an incredible story that I believe is just going to blow your mind because it was the toughest. I thought 2020 was the toughest. 2021 even got worse. So this almost killed me. 2020 almost killed me. But in 2021, my back broke and it was not good. I want to say thank you for joining me on this reinvention series as we dive deeper and deeper in this. I'm really, really excited for the end result because guess what? It's in the past. And I've got so much to look forward to. I'm really, really, really excited. If you check out todddurkin.com, you probably see a brand new website that we are so proud of and excited to share with the world with this. So make sure that you check that out. Make sure you sign up for our dose of Durkin. Yes, we've got the dose of Durkin coming back. And if you're looking for more motivation and you want to get free weekly workout challenges, then you got to sign up for the dose of Durkin. If today spoke to you, can you please take a snapshot right now? Boop, boop. Take a picture of the episode and please share it on your social media. Perhaps there was one or two or three things that you didn't know that I shared about the pandemic internally from me. Maybe it brings back some good memories or bad memories. Maybe you have great fond memories of the Good News Network. I'd love to hear from you on your memories. And here is what I also want to ask of you, please. When this series is over, the last episode is going to be a Q&A series answering your specific questions on anything I shared from episodes 301, 302 until the last one. Can you please make sure you shoot me a message with any question that you had from last week or this week on anything whether it relates to going through that time, back pain, anything that you hear over the next few weeks, please let me know. You can certainly email me or text me. Don't forget, we've got this text community that I encourage you, please be part of. I'm dropping some dimes on that on a regular basis. All you have to do is text me. And here's the number. Ready? 619-304-2216. 619-304-2216. And if you're driving, don't write it down. Don't worry. It's in my show notes. So look at the show notes, sign up for that. And then you can shoot me over your question via text. Yes, it is me behind the text community. So text me, be in my text community. And don't forget, the new 2.0 version of the Dose of Durkin is back. So sign up on the todddurkin.com for the Dose of Durkin. You're going to get one workout challenge a week along with an inspirational quote or verse that's speaking to me and hopefully going to inspire you as well. Hey, thank you so much for joining on this episode 302. This almost killed me, my deepest podcast to date, the Reinvention series. Remember, until next time, continue to train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact. Hey, thanks again for listening to today's episode. Don't forget, you've also probably seen that I came out with a new program recently for all our young quarterbacks and pitchers. If you know a quarterback or pitcher or swimmer or any overhead athlete, my new QB Strong program is a program that's 8 weeks long, and you do not need to be with me in San Diego live. I created this 8-week program along with my sons, Luke and Brady. It was a legacy type project. And I want to take all the programming that I've been using for 20 plus years as a coach and a strength and conditioning trainer so that all of our high school and middle school throwers here with our season soon approaching, typically in August, we've got about 8 weeks of good, hard training that needs to take place. So I want to encourage you to hop over to toddurkin.com, take a look at QB Strong. It's all done via our app. It's on an app. Each and every exercise has video support. There's some extra audio message in there for you to get your mind right, because as a quarterback, as a pitcher, as a leader, you got to have your mind right, your body right. And that's what QB Strong is all about. So take a look today. If you know a quarterback or a pitcher that needs to get in the best shape of their life right now, QB Strong. Check it out, toddurkin.com, and check out QB Strong.